Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday. How's everything going in the vinyl community? Hope you've been having a wonderful weekend. It's early on a Sunday morning here in the beautiful state of Tennessee. My whole family's still in bed, so I thought I'd throw this video on. Been kind of busy this weekend. Went out last night, had some fun with some friends, and so this is the first time I really got a chance to put anything out. Some coffee, Wonder Woman. So what'd you guys do? You guys have a good time? I hope so. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Oh, excuse me, guys. It's early. That's all I got to say. Well, this week I want to talk about Twisted Sister. Let's talk about Twisted Sister. Twisted Sister was formed in 1972 or 1973, depending on where your sources come from, and went through multiple lineup changes until it solidified in like 76 or so into the band that we knew that first came out, that we first saw, basically most people first saw in the 80s on MTV. JJ French, D. Snyder, Eddie Ojeda, Mark Mendoza, AJ Pero. That solidifies in like 76. And from that point on, D. Snyder wrote all the music, lead singer. Of course, if you're a metal guy, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, pretty much. D wrote all the music, and they started doing tours across, some small local type things on the East Coast. They're from New Jersey or whatever. And then they end up going to England to play at the Reading Festival. Local talent sees them, signs them to a record contract, and they put out their first record in 1982 called Under the Blade. So this is the first record. This is not a 1982 version of this album. This is from 1985. Atlantic. It's been reissued and remixed with an added song. It says right there, "I'll Never Grow Up Now," which is the first song that they ever recorded. They did a single with "I'll Never Grow Up Now" and Under the Blade on the other side. It was not on this record when it was first put out in 1982. Like I said, this is an 85 re-release, right? Yeah, this one's from, yes, this is a 1985 re-release. Was put out after they hit it big, trying to capitalize on their earlier music. I've never really looked for the original pressing on this. I did look at the original single for "I'll Never Grow Up Now," and there's like 8 of them out there, no sleeves and stuff, and you can spend a whole lot of money for a 45 if you'd like. This album is killer. I mean, honestly, we all found Twisted Sister when Stay Hungry comes out, but I went back and bought it, so I got the inner sleeve. By the way, this album, Under the Blade, for those of you UFO fans out there, you probably know this. A lot of this people do not. Was produced by Pete Way of UFO. There's the labels. So it's got that cool Twisted Sister bone logo. So that's the first album in 1985. Comes out. I really, really like this record. This is good, heavy, dirty, gritty music. I saw a review on it that says this album feels like and sounds like New York City of the 1980s, of the early 1980s, the dirtiness, the grittiness, and all that. That's what this album sounds like. And this is a killer album. It's got, What You Don't Know, Bad Boys of Rock and Roll, Run for Your Life, Sin After Sin, Shoot 'Em Down, Destroyer, Under the Blade, Tear It Loose, I'll Never Grow Up Now, and The Day of the Rocker. The last 2 songs are a little anthem type music, where everything else is like this cool, dark, heavy stuff. It really is cool, dark, and heavy. So I think that's a great album. I love that record. So then in 1983, they come out with Twisted Sister, You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. 1983. This is Atlantic. This is from Atlantic Records, and this is a specialty press. Back cover kind of flips sideways. So you have this Twisted Sister, and then you have this look. And like I said, it's sideways. If you'll notice, there's some writing on there. I don't think that's anything important. I think it's just something left over. I doubt it's a signature. It's hard to see. It just looks like squiggly lines, so it was probably done later. Inner sleeve for this one. Lyrics on one side. Picture of the band. All the stuff there. This Atlantic logo is your regular green and red Atlantic logo. This album's killer also. The thing is about You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, it's got, the kids are back, and the song You Can't Stop Rock and Roll, Like a Knife in the Back, Ride to Live, Live to Ride, I Am, I'm Me. These are really good songs. This is really heavy stuff. It was really cool when I was in high school, like in the 10th grade, the fight song, not like the theme song of the school, but the fight song was The Kids Are Black. The Kids Are Back, because the line, we got the lion in our heart, that was our logo, was a lion. So I think that's why they picked it, because, I went to school with a bunch of normies and they didn't really know metal at all. And I was like, oh, they picked Twisted Sister. It's probably done from beforehand. This is really, really good. This is also, they were starting to break nationwide. There was a video for You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. It's pretty cool. I do remember that. Them running around England in their van, chasing down bad guys, or being chased by, kind of like being chased by the music police or something. So, but yeah, Under the Blade's a great killer record. Basically, I listened to everything Twisted Sister this week. So after that, I have Kids Are Back single. It's got The Kids Are Back on side A, and then What You Don't Know Sure Can't Hurt You, Bad Boys of Rock and Roll, Run for Your Life are all live, recorded at the Marquee Club, the 5th and 6th of March of 1983 is side 2 of this. So a 12-inch single, 33 and a third. Cool stuff. Kids Are Back's a cool song I was just talking about, and that live stuff is cool too. So got that single. Next up is the big one that we all know, Stay Hungry. This is what blows him up. This is the first time I ever saw him. Video for We're Not Gonna Take It. Of course, people of a certain age have seen it multiple times. There's the band in the back. What can you say about this? This catapults Twisted Sister into like the top album, the top band around, like the biggest metal band for like a year and a half. This breaks them. We all go back and buy You Can't Stop Rock and Roll and Under the Blade. We start listening to that. I was hooked on these guys. I saw them. I was 15 years old. This album comes out in 1984. I saw the video. We went and saw these guys when I was a teenager. I was too young to drive. I remember a friend of ours' parents taking us to go see Twisted Sister and Y&T. We're supposed to go see Twisted Sister and Y&T. And back then, before the internet, we're driving down there, and on the radio, they announced that we're going to have a special guest at tonight's show. For those of you going to see Twisted Sister and Y&T tonight, Dawkins is also there. So we got to see Dawkins that day, which was unannounced. We had no idea until we were like literally on our way to see the show. I had a great time, and then the very next concert I went to, I saw Twisted Sister open for Iron Maiden. And the dumbass 15-year-old me really didn't know Maiden at the time at all. We just went to see Twisted Sister, man. We could not wait to see Twisted Sister again. We were hooked. And then Maiden came out afterwards, and of course I've been a fan of them ever since. But the reason I saw that World Slavery Tour, the reason I saw it is because I wanted to go see Twisted Sister again. So, and those were that was the last concert I had to be driven to. I was still 15 when that one happened too. So that's a whole other story I'll tell one day, that Maiden concert when I saw the World Slavery Tour. So anyway, Stay Hungry. What can you say about this album? We're Not Gonna Take It, Stay Hungry, Burn in Hell, The Horror Terrier, Captain Howdy, Street Justice, I Want to Rock, The Price, one of the greatest. The Price is probably one of the greatest ballads of all time of that era. It's such a cool song, got great lyrics. So then Don't Let Me Down, The Beast, and SMF. We were all SMFs, the sick motherfucking fans of Twisted Sister. Remember when Dee Snider went in front of Congress with his Twisted fucking Sister jacket on his back? And when it was asked what the SMF stood for their fan club, he's like, the sick motherfucking fans of Twisted Sister, which we thought was badass because, he was, going in front of Congress and talking like that, looking like a metalhead. as far as we were concerned, at 16 years old or whatever, Dee Snider was a freaking hero. So got the inner sleeve for that. Got a picture of the band down here. And seeing Twisted Sister live at this time was nothing like it, man. They were so cool and all over the place and just crazy. Now we're back to, still on Atlantic Records, we're back to the Bone logo. That was, well, that other one was a repress, so that's probably why it had the same logo. So after that, Twisted Sister's like the biggest band on the planet for its time. They come out with this thing right here. Come Out and Play. I did not like this album when it first came out. And this is a 1985. This is a club edition. It's non-pop-up. Some of them pop up where this opens right here, and Dee Snider's comes out at you. When I found this one, this was not a pop-up. I bought it anyway. This is a club edition, like I said. And it's got Be Cool to Your School, Come Out and Play, I Believe in Rock and Roll. It got a lot more like rock anthem rather than quite as dark as the previous albums. This has also got Leader of the Pack on it, and that was a big mistake because we've seen Stay Hungry and I Want to Rock and all this heavy stuff, and then when they put this album out, the lead single they picked is Leader of the Pack. And they put out Leader of the Pack, and we're watching it like, what is this? What is this 50s doo-wop shit? What is Twisted Sister doing? And it was pretty much the beginning of the end, This album's got Brian Setzer on it. Billy Joel's on this album. Alice Cooper's on this album. They're all on Be Cruel to Your School. And then Don Dokken and Gary Holland, the drummer from Great White, play on I Believe in You. So that kind of shows where Twisted Sister goes from one of the most dangerous bands that we saw out there to having Brian Setzer and Billy Joel on a song. Alice Cooper, that's cool, Alice Cooper, but I mean, Billy Joel? And Brian Setzer's cool and he's a great guitar player, but getting the rockabilly guy to sing backup on a song that I don't know, it just didn't quite fit with us. So, I remember buying this on cassette back in the day, and listening to it a few times and never really being a huge fan. When I started finding all these on vinyl, these were one of the last ones I picked up. I mean, of course, when I saw it, I bought it. I wasn't going to worry about it. It's a cool record. This, it's a cool record. I kind of like Come Out and Play. The song Come Out and Play. It's got Be Cool to Your School, and some of these are cool songs. So it's not a bad record. It's, like I said, just not as dark and heavy. There's the inner label of these, that silver TS logo. For those of you who are like me, how many times did you draw that logo on your notebooks when you were in high school? The Twisted Sister logo being on your school books. So after that, they released Love Is for Suckers, which has no inner sleeve, no pictures of the band on it at all. This is pretty much it. I looked up on Discogs to see if I was missing something and missing an inner sleeve. There's no pictures of an inner sleeve, so it must not have came with one. We're back to just the regular logo, the regular Atlantic label on there. This album here was originally supposed to be a Dee Snider solo album. But Atlantic was like, no, you have to put out a Twisted Sister album. The last album didn't do well. Stay Hungry was a big hit and sold millions of copies, and it sold your previous records and boasted the sales of Under the Blade and You Can't Stop Rock and Roll. The last album wasn't very good, so we need another Twisted Sister album. So they released this album as a Twisted Sister album, and honestly, there's not really anything out there of whether they all played on every song or not, getting the fact that they probably didn't. Actually, if you look at the back for the drummers, Joey Sevenfranco, so AJ Perro's out of the band. Apparently, by the time this happens, this album is terrible, honestly. I mean, it's decent rock music, but this album, it's pretty much, it's the end. It's the last Twisted Sister album besides until they reform and do that Christmas album. I found this at the record store about 6 months ago, and it was the only one of all of the Twisted Sister I didn't have on vinyl, so I bought it. And I've listened to it a couple times, But Love Is for Suckers is a decent song. You know, there's a couple of decent songs on it, but it's nothing compared to the original. The first three albums, especially, even Come Out and Play, it pales in comparison. And so instead of it being a D Snyder Soul album, it's a Twisted Sister album. It doesn't sound like Twisted Sister really, and it basically kills the band. And that's it. And they break up, and that's the end of Twisted Sister until they reformed years later. The other thing I have this here, the best of Twisted Sister, big hits and nasty cuts. I had this back in the day, CDs, of course. You know, it's got the fairly cool. You know, this was put out later. It's got cool packaging though for a CD. Let me get this out of here. If you can look right there, first of all, that's Dee's signature. I saw Dee Snider in a club, and I had this with me. And me and my wife at the time and my brother, we go to see Dee Snider and the SMFs is what they were calling it. And it was just all Twisted Sister music. It's just Dee Snider with a different band. It was before they reformed. He's doing Dee Snider with the SMFs, and he's playing in this little bar. Maybe there was 200 people there. And somebody handed him something. He was up on stage singing, and he had a Sharpie or whatever in his hand, and he's singing and he signs it. So I grabbed this I brought with me because I thought, you know, it's a small club. I might get a chance to meet Dee Snider. So I brought this with me, handed it to him. He signs this while he's singing on stage. In fact, if you look at the back, you can see this little smudge of blue right there. He started to sign on that side of it, turned it around, you know. So I saw him signing it as he's singing at the same time. So that's how I got my signed logo, my signed Greatest Hits album by Dee Snider. It's got pretty cool stuff. It spreads out pretty big. It tells a little story of Dee Snider and the back of Twisted Sister and what happens in the back. It's got some cool pictures. It's a pretty cool CD compilation album, which I've played a shit ton of times when I was, you know, back in the day. Used to play this CD all the time. Of course, now, you know, streaming and everything else, the CDs never get played at all, but it usually sits on my shelf. So, all right. So, what do you guys think of Twisted Sister? I mean, at the time, I was a huge fan. They were a great band, one of my favorites at that time. For like that, you know, when Stay Hungry comes out in 84, until like 80, you know, for like a year and a half, we were all huge Twisted Sister fans. We even gave them, you know, when Come Out and Play came out, like, okay, it's not quite as good, it's not quite as heavy, but there's still some good songs on here, you know. And yeah, they did Leader of the Pack, but there's also the song Come Out and Play on here, and we stuck with them. But then when Love for Suckers came out, that's pretty much the end for pretty much everybody. And it was only 1985. So basically, Twisted Sister kind of ruled MTV and ruled metal for like 2 years. For a band that had been formed in like 73 and like solidly formed since like 76, they basically last like 10, 11 years from 76 until 87 when they do Lovers for Suckers. But they were only big and huge for like a year and a half right at the end of the career. And Dee Snider will say it was his fault because he couldn't write that angry teenage anthem anymore because he's living in his mansion, and he just couldn't write that rebellious music because he finally made it and gotten everything he ever wanted. So, but you know, I love Dee Snider and I love those guys, and I still think Dee is cool as shit, and his newest solo stuff is actually really good. But I don't own any of it, but I have heard it on streaming. So that's my Twisted Sister collection. Thank you for listening to me talk about Twisted Sister for the last 20 minutes, essentially. Appreciate you guys all watching. Happy Sunday. Have yourself a good rest of your weekend if you have any left. And we'll talk to you guys later on next week. Cheers. I'll say cheers, even though it's just my coffee. I did not put any hair of the dog in it today. Thanks, guys. And I'll talk to you all, you know, in a few days or whatever. Have a good one. I'll see you later.